Mike Isaacson here with Central Washington University's Master of Arts in Teaching program. In EDU 505, this is the second final project we've got going on. And the topic I have here is making project-based learning better for multi-language learners, ELL especially, of course. The source text is Strengthening Project-Based Learning with Genre Checkpoints from Brian Rugen. It's 2019 publication, and unless noted otherwise, every quote in here is from that publication and not my material. So let's continue. Basically, what we're going to cover today is how project-based learning is good for MLs, and I'd say good teaching overall. There's a couple of criticisms of it, and the author of this article suggested genre checkpoints, which we'll get into, to fix two of the issues and improve pedagogy. Just as important for me was kind of this fun fact. He documented his efforts with this, and this was his resulting contribution to the literature as a practitioner. That was fun and something that some of us might want to do in the future. Excuse this slide, excuse this little bit here. But project-based learning is some academic vocabulary. Genre checkpoints, we're going to get into defining all of this. And action research I'll describe right now, but it's the process he went through to publish as a practitioner in a way that gets noticed in the literature. And that's cool. I'm interested in that, and maybe some of you are as well. Let's dig in. So he stated his goal here, strengthening project-based learning, by introducing genre checkpoints, and that's going to require an understanding of genre. You can pause this to read it. I'm not going to read online. We'll keep moving. So project-based learning is learning that's centered around an outcome. So whether that is a group project, whether that is a portfolio, whether that is a speech given, a presentation given like this one, whether that is, it might be something artistic, our pottery piece, could be a project-based learning bit, or painting, of course. But it tends to, because it has a physical outcome, focus on skills. And I like that. It tends to incorporate all the different language skills is my first bullet point up there, but it tends to integrate all the different types of learning. So cognitive, metacognitive, social affective strategies that Diaz-Rico discusses in chapter 3. It is a learner-centered approach. It should be a inquiry-based model. This would be perhaps another way or a tweak on what we're learning in our other 504 class. I really like it. And I'm gonna start to apply that along with the other inquiry-based model that Cody was teaching. Student-led inquiry-based. The phases that he listed, and I looked it up separately. They listed 4, but I think that the first 2 are combined here into planning. Second phase would be the preparation phase, preparing, and then submitting or presenting the final, final piece. The 2 weaknesses he's trying to address here are the unstructured preparation phase specifically. Some students don't know where to start. Time management's an issue. Some actually resist it, and the quote over here has to do with that. Students are more accustomed to traditional styles of learning, might resist PBL and the autonomy that comes with it because they fail to see the connections between project preparation work and the development of various language skills. So you can run into that resistance. I think it'll be less of a problem for us. And then the other weakness that he addresses here is that, well, hey, it's project-based and that project is summative. It's really a summative focused, lesson and very little formative assessment along the way. And he's trying to address that by introducing these genre checkpoints here. So the point of the genre checkpoint, we could even call it a genre awareness checkpoint because it is focused. It's in service of genre awareness, and genre, let's deal with that vocab now, is talking about any specific type of communication. So these are genre of communication, categories of communication. So the example that he gives for his students is how to email your professor. And that's applicable for us. I recall actually a lesson like that back at the beginning of this course with Reyes saying, hey, this is, address me this way, title it that way, you need to do this, and giving those sort of genre specific structural pieces, and then also linguistic, and I'll move my face here so you can see this. Also, linguistic features in addition to the format, that would be like indirect expression. So I was wondering if, right, these are advanced language concepts and genre-specific language concepts, which can be used to apply. In addition to what you see here, he really liked that genre awareness can lead to increased linguistic flexibility. Let's move this here. Rhetorical versatility was the phrase. So the checkpoint is basically, hey, it's a timeout in your preparation stage. You're going to get introduced to a relevant academic genre, that in his case, the email, right? Could be lots of different things, but a way to use English specifically in a context that's somewhat relevant. So you're going to investigate the structure of that genre of communication, introduce any linguistic features. He suggested, however, 3 or more movement structural pieces for that, and then 1 linguistic feature that is kind of unique to this. So if that's indirect communication, if that is using the we voice, for example, perhaps with a team communications would be, I think, the most natural fit for the level I'm teaching at. And giving it that in a structured mini lesson. One of his conclusions was not doing a follow-up to the structured mini lesson, but he still liked that. I'll also address one thing you can do if you didn't want to give a mini lesson fully in the middle. And then I added on as a checkpoint, I think it's required to produce a genre that they're going to be needed for the final piece, so it's more relevant to what they're doing as well. The dual use here for English as a first language students, because it's good policy for them too, I think, but also for English as a second language. It's just presenting the academic discourse communities. Like when we do this, we do this. There's a different group over here. And when they communicate over here, they do a little bit differently. And this is how. It lets them function competently, I'm just reading it clearly, in a range of academic genres. So if they learn the conventions for different contexts, they can communicate in those contexts. They also will have a better idea. I think it really teaches culture, academic culture, as well as, just our culture, right? This is in context communications. It gives them the concept of genre awareness, and his point is that awareness leads to rhetorical versatility. I'll try not to hammer the point more than it needs to. This inductive/deductive mini lesson was a fun little inclusion here, and I hope he expands on this in future things. His process, I put bullet points, I should have put numbers. He gives inductive examples first, in his case, examples of emails to professors before, and he wrote a couple of these up. And he took a couple and redacted names as well for his examples. So he had good examples, he had bad examples, right? And he started to introduce some guidance, some scaffolding to that. So moving from that inductive model of, hey, here's a bunch of pieces, what do we do with it, right? Asking the students, what do you see? What patterns do you see? What can we deduce from this? What can we infer from this, right? Giving some scaffolding, giving some guidance so that they come to the right answer. Then he has a discussion, he had a turn pair share, think pair share, right? Followed by whole class. Then he gives a deductive explanation as well. He models examples and counter examples, says why they're good, why they're bad, which part, right? And in each step, he asked the groups, because he had them in groups, for examples. So these kids were brought in from the inductive part to participate in the deductive part. And then eventually as homework, they had to produce, they had their results in class, and then homework was produced one on their own. So that's the, I do, we do, you do, right? Except it didn't start that way. It started with the inductive piece. So we did it. We see the problem with what's happening here. So we teacher and students, me was right in the middle there. And then we teachers and students pitched together on it, and then they did it by themselves, and then homework was them doing it on their own. I really like that model, and I hope that he writes another paper on that piece. His little quote down here, a clear-cut dichotomy between inductive and deductive teaching may be somewhat a false one. Yeah, powerful stuff. Anyway, keep moving on here. Little hidden nugget in there. As far as how this could work, he has a quote there. Context of project-based learning might be the ideal context for this other thing he wants to do. He wanted to introduce the concept of genres. Teaching in an ELL setting, this is an ELL teacher. He saw that was just a natural fit. I like that. One thing for those who don't want to maybe do the mini lesson piece of this, or it doesn't fit with your age group or topic, it could be done without the mini lessons. What he's pointing out is just understand the genre needs, give some coaching up as you're going through, right? So here's a particular, he says, particular move and or structure, right? When we are communicating with our teammates, we typically, linguistic feature would be, we want to use we language, not you and me, not you, what's with you, right? We want to avoid that. We also want to make sure that we give time for response, right? Just a genre of communication within a teamwork. As far as conclusions, I mean, I liked it, right? I didn't even, probably could have written a slide with conclusions here. Clearly, I liked it. I've said that from the beginning. I'll be aware of this. I hope you are too. As far as these follow-up questions, I have 3 down here. It says 1 or 2, so I'll just ask the first 2. Project-based learning is not something we address specifically except in assessment, I believe. It was problem-based assessment in Chapter 3. But I think it works because it combines the language. I want to get your opinions, though. You know, is there something better than project-based learning for teaching English language learners? Is there perhaps part of it that works, and so it should be incorporated once or twice, but not on a regular basis throughout the year? And then for project-based learning, are there any other weaknesses you've spotted? That would be question 1. The other thing is that my other conclusion here I have to give before the second question, and that is that I like the project-based learning because the skill base, the piece that you produce, and some of these genre checkpoints become locations for additional learnings to kind of stick in my mind. They become the Christmas tree to hang the ornaments on. And that's invaluable for me, and I have to imagine I'm not the only one. I'm wondering which learnings for you become a mental place. We talk about the memory palace, right? Become a mental place for you to hang some of the other learnings on. And everybody's brain is different, but how does that work for you? And how might that work for some of our students? I thought about asking, is this consistent across the board? And I think it's pretty clear it's not. Everybody's brain is different. And I think this is one of the specific ways our brain is different as far as which piece becomes a node for the other information, which pieces of information, which skills become the nodes that the other information connects to. And therefore, how we think our process is unique. Maybe I've inferred too much. Maybe I'm completely reaching. But I just wonder how that works for you. I'd love to explore that topic. And just for funsies, here's the third one. Did you find that dichotomy between inductive and deductive teaching artificial? Earlier, I think it was a previous class actually. I mentioned that. It's, at least one person commented in affirmative as well. So that was fun stuff. I hope you guys have a great time. Please do check this article out. It was good for at least 3 reasons. It's only 14 pages long. Really worth a read, I think. Thanks. I'm Mike, and this was the 505 Project.